Nicole Kidman is here. It has been quite a year. If you wondered how she could top the others in Moulin Rouge, you start with The Hours. She is winning rave reviews for her portrayal of the great English writer Virginia Woolf. Her directors are fulsome in praise. Baz Luhrmann, her director in Moulin Rouge, says it's like Sleeping Beauty. She's awoken in full bloom, a woman in full possession of her powers as an actress. Anthony Minghella of Cold Mountain says each performance is so different that it makes you feel here is an enormous, rich instrument. She was born in Hawaii and grew up in Sydney, Australia. She was taller, fairer, and very different. At 17, she left high school to become an actress. Here is a montage of some of her work over the last 20 years.
Don't make me.
What's gonna make you?
Stay there!
I just want to talk!
You want to control something that's out of control. That's what you said to me, wasn't it? Well, I'm going to let you in on a little secret that almost everybody else in this world automatically knows. Control is an illusion, you infantile egomaniac. Nobody knows what's going to happen next. Not on a freeway, not in an airplane, not inside our own bodies, and certainly not on a racetrack with 40 other infantile egomaniacs. There are some people who never know who they are or who they want to be until it's too late. And that is a real tragedy in my book. Because I always knew who I was and who I wanted to be. Always. Men have to stick it in every place they can, but for women, it is just about security and commitment and whatever the else.
A little oversimplified, Alice, but yes, something like that.
If you men only knew.
What's his type? Wilting flower? Bright and bubbly? Or smoldering temptress?
I'd say smoldering temptress. We're all relying on you, Gosling. Remember, a real show in a real theater with a real audience. And you'll be...
a real actress.
What was that?
I don't know.
Anne, tell me who's making that noise.
I can't tell you, Mummy.
You tell me.
I told you there was someone in the room, and you punished me. Now I don't know what to say.
Anne, I want the truth. Tell me if there is someone upstairs.
If I were thinking clearly, Leonard, I would tell you that I wrestle alone in the dark, in the deep dark, and that only I can know. Only I can understand my own condition.
And here is the trailer from The Hours, directed by Stephen Daldry and based on the Pulitzer Prize-winning novel about one day in the lives of three women from different eras, connected by Virginia Woolf's book, Ms. Dalloway. The other two remarkable performances are by Meryl Streep and Julianne Moore. Here is the trailer.
Your aunt's a very lucky woman, Angelica, because she has two lives. She has the life she's leading, also the book she's writing.
Mrs. Dalloway said she would buy the flowers herself.
Mrs. Dalloway said she would buy the flowers herself.
Sally, I think I'll buy the flowers myself.
Three different women.
This life, it's what I've always wanted. I had an idea of our happiness.
Each living a lie.
I wish, for your sake, Leonard, I could be happy in this quietness.
Each putting someone else's life.
Good morning, Mrs. Dalloway.
First.
That is what we do. That is what people do. They stay alive for each other.
What about your own life? Just wait till I die. Then you'll have to think of yourself.
Mom, what's happening? He gives me that look to say your life is so trivial. It only matters if you think it's true. My life has been stolen from me.
Virginia, you have an obligation to your own sanity.
I am attended by doctors everywhere. I am attended by doctors who inform me of my own interests.
Baking the cake for Daddy to show him that we love him.
Otherwise he won't know we love him.
That's right. I don't know what's happening. I seem to be unraveling.
Come to bed, Laura Brown.
I remember one morning getting up at dawn. There was such a sense of possibility. And I remember thinking to myself, this is
the beginning of happiness. I have lost those feelings forever.
Mommy, I love you.
Don't worry, honey. Everything's fine. You're my guy.
To look life in the face, to know it for what it is, to love it for what it is. It is the right of every human being.
And here's what David Denby said in the New Yorker magazine, quote, that Julianne Moore can be immensely touching is no surprise. That Meryl Streep, again playing a contemporary New Yorker, has achieved a new flowing emotional immediacy at the age of 53 will shock no one. The revelation is Nicole Kidman as Wolf, tall, pale, severely beautiful, eyes cast down with an awkwardly darting energy and a sudden harsh anger as of an enormous bird disturbed in its rest. I am pleased to have Nicole Kidman at this table for the first time. Welcome.
Thank you.
Had you heard that before?
No, I hadn't. Wow.
That's David Denby.
Wow.
This
An
is
enormous bird.
disturbed at rest.
Lovely, beautifully written.
When they came to you about this, what appealed to you about this story from the Pulitzer Prize-winning book by
I
Michael
hadn't
Cunningham?
read the novel, so I just read it as a screenplay. I was actually preparing to do the others, and I usually won't read when I'm preparing, but my agent called and said, you have to read this screenplay, it's so good. And when I heard that David Hare had done it, I thought, and he's a friend, so I thought, okay, I'll take an afternoon and read it. And I just got swept up and thought, this is very, very powerful, and it has 3 really complicated, interesting women, and each character you can't decide which is better, you know, and that's unusual.
Did you know a lot about Virginia Woolf at that time?
I'd sort of encountered her at school and resisted her. I'd
Yes.
fallen in love with the Bronte sisters, and, you know, that was my passion, George Eliot. So my discovery of her actually happened just prior to making the film, because I had to go and suddenly research her, and that has had an enormous effect on my life, actually.
How so?
Her works. She came along. It's interesting because there was a line that was in the film. It's saying, the dead give us gifts. And that really resonated with me because Virginia gave me a gift at this time in my life by exploring just what she says about life, what she feels, her ability to sort of exist within her struggles and then let that feed into her art. I think is so admirable and so extraordinary how she managed to do it.
And did you see any sense of parallel in, you know, that she was very much uncomfortable, shy, in a sense, feeling a little bit of an outcast?
With me, I mean,
in terms of growing up, when you were growing up and
when
sort
I
of
was
finding
growing up,
yourself.
but also just at that particular time of my life, I was just ready to receive her. And that's the same way with great art, with a painting that suddenly comes alive because of where you're at with your experiences, life experiences. And so for me, there was something about being trapped. There was something about not actually desiring, you know, grappling with what's my future. Do I want a future? Do I need a future? What is life anyway? Nihilism. I mean, suddenly everything was starting to play on me, and she sort of kind of guided me through.
Makes you think that a role comes as a reason.
I think you have to, at some stage, give over to, you just say, destiny. I mean, you give up your control pretty early on. I think as a person, once you can do that, once you say, life's going to deliver so many different paths, I'm going to be sort of carried along on them, and I can determine where I'm going, but part of you just has to say, hey, I'm here for the ride as well.
Do you have a feeling now, I mean, you've earned this place, but you're on a roll because you're playing so many interesting women. If you look at The Human Stain, an interesting woman. You know, if you look at this.
And then Cold Mountain.
And then Cold Mountain. Ada is a fascinating woman.
Done
I mean, 3 in a row.
Some great novels
there.
It's interesting because I've encountered Philip Noyce, Charles Fraser, and Michael Cunningham. So there's, you know, 3 extraordinary writers, and got to play women that they created. So.
Take a look at this scene. This is a scene at the train station because you said somewhere that this made you, reading this scene, made you want to do the movie.
Yeah.
Roll tape. Here it is.
It is time for us to move back to London. I miss London. I miss London life.
This is not you speaking, Virginia. This is an aspect of your illness. It's not you.
It is my voice.
It's not your
It's
voice.
mine and mine
It's the
alone.
voice that you hear.
It is not. It is mine. I'm dying in this town.
If you were thinking clearly, Virginia, you'd recall it was London that brought you low.
If I were thinking clearly. If I were thinking clearly.
We brought you to Richmond to give you peace.
If I were thinking clearly, Leonard, I would tell you that I wrestle alone in the dark, in the deep dark, and that only I can know. Only I can understand my own condition.
Say that again.
No, I was saying the lines along with it.
Only.
Only I can understand my own condition.
You know people are going to watch this and hardly believe it's you because of the way, dark hair, the nose, voice.
Right.
How did you get up for this? I mean, what was the preparation for you?
It was interesting because it was more, I think I read so many of her letters and I read so much about her. I listened to a little bit of her voice and that didn't help me. And so I went into the rehearsal process still panicked. Yeah. You know, I was like, you get this panic as an actor where you think, oh, it's got to come soon, it's just going to come. Because you really don't want to force anything. And you wait for it to sort of seep into your skin, which is what happens. And I started the first day of rehearsal and we had a read-through, which I hate doing a table reads because I'm dreadful at them and I never put any effort into them and I'm so bad and I can see the director and the producers get worried because they think, oh my gosh,
she's
we've
not
made
taking
a
this seriously.
a huge mistake. But then I met Stephen Delane and we sat and within 2 hours,
here who plays Leonard.
yeah, within 2 hours she was starting to come alive and I was starting to feel her. So, and that's how actors should work. It's together that you create.
And there was some sense, you coming off of, this is the first major role after the divorce, after the split?
It was the only thing that I did last year, yeah. I pulled out of everything else. I tried to pull out of this, but I was not allowed.
You were not allowed by?
By
a whole series
everybody.
Yeah, because they were so sure that you would.
I think they just wanted me to work. It wasn't a huge amount of time. I was also, I had a knee injury. I was in a lot of pain and stuff. So I was like, it's like where your whole life collapses around you and you just think, this is so insignificant and unimportant and I don't want to go and do that now. I just want to be alone with my children and heal. So.
Was it therapy?
This role? Therapy? I think that's sort of almost indulgent to look at it as therapy. It was more like I was able to understand her on a very deep level and therefore just say, well, you want to know something? I'm going to give everything I can to this and I'm going to trust Stephen Daldry not to sort of abuse me with it. And he didn't. But
your reputation is that roles exhaust you, that you give it all. Every one of them, people say. Directors who work with you say.
I think... You
give yourself
over.
Yes,
I do. I think you're so lucky to be an actor, let alone an actor being given a great role. To show up and not honor that is so disrespectful to the thousands of actors out there, hundreds of thousands of actors out there who would die to play it, you know? So you have to go in there and say, I cherish this opportunity and I'm going to do everything I can to help the director achieve his vision. And it's why I love to work with directors that are deeply passionate about their work, obsessive.
Sounds like Baz Luhrmann.
Baz and Stephen and Anthony Minghella and Stanley Kubrick and Jane Campion and Lars von Trier. I mean, I want that experience. I really don't want to go in and feel like it's a 9-to-5 job. It's not why I do it. It exists within my soul, within my blood. And I denied that for a number of years because it was almost embarrassing to sort of admit that you have that commitment and that passion towards something. And also, you tend to say, well, it's just acting and it's ridiculous and it's sort of a frivolous sort of thing, you know, it's when I'm not doing any huge world contribution here. And then you have to say, well, no, art is important and commitment is important and the pursuit of excellence is important. So.
But in these
anyway,
works
shut
also...
up, Nicole.
Well, no.
Go off,
These are works that also...
I suppose for me, it's been an awakening.
Based on books that have something to say. Nicole Mountain has something to say.
Yeah.
Ada is a fascinating character.
Oh, just a treasure.
And clearly here there's something to say about...
And Minghell's rendition of it too, and Charles Fraser has visited the set and he was there. And I mean, that's always quite daunting when the author comes, because you think, oh, is this how they envision her? And he was very supportive. But you know, Minghella is just extraordinary in how he created from Cold Mountain this woman, and then I come in and have to, you know, make her breathe, bring her to life.
But they shot it in Romania.
We shot some in America, and then the majority of it in Romania, because we got to get the 4 seasons actually within the 7-month time frame, because we needed snow, we needed summer, we needed everything in that space of time. It's an epic.
Yeah. It was said about you shooting the hours that the water at the death scene, which is at the top of the film.
Yeah.
And most people know what happened to Virginia Woolf in 1941. You know? And then you go to the flashback of her trying to write Miss Dillon. You did it scene after scene after scene. The river was cold, they say.
A very
now, what
strong
does that
current.
say about you?
That I'm mad. I mean, it's weird. I don't feel pain when I act. That's why I hurt my knee on Moulin Rouge, and I didn't even feel it for 3 weeks. And then I kept dancing on it, which was ridiculous. But I don't know, you just start to operate in a different realm. And it satiates me in such an enormous way, being an actor. I think I'd probably be pretty crazy if I didn't have it. So it's wonderful that I can go and express myself. And I've known ever since I was a little girl that there was things I just wanted to say, you know. I always had a very strong kind of inner life, because my mother would read to me, you know, since I was tiny. She was obsessed with educating you. Thank God. And so she created us in terms of imaginations, and she would feed our imaginations constantly, my sister and I. And I would spend a lot of time alone in my room reading.
Your sister?
And I credit literature with the reason I act, because that was sort of the door to me saying, oh, I can be somebody else, I can exist as somebody else. And I would become, you know, Madame Bovary. I would become
when you left
the novels.
What did your parents say when you said, I'm going to leave at 17 high school?
My parents were interesting because they were strict.
Yeah.
Had a sort of a pretty strong moral code, yet they were also very liberal. So I said I'm going to go to Amsterdam when I was 17. That's what I said.
Why Amsterdam?
I had a boyfriend that was had a place there, and he said, you know, come with me, and so off I went. So I was willful. I was sort of I you know, desire to please my mother still to this day. It sort of seems to be.
Well, she's come to you, you've been to her at important moments, and she's come to you at important moments. I mean, you had to come back from Europe because she was sick, cancer.
Yeah, breast cancer.
But when you needed her, she was there as well.
Yeah.
She came to your side and said, get up, girl.
Yes, she did. Yes.
Get out of that, you know.
Yeah, well, she's, you know, tough love was the motto. I said to her, I said, oh, you're going to read an article, and she's like, please just stop. No more about me. I don't want to hear about me. But she's a huge influence on my life, as is my father, who I have an enormous amount of respect for because he's a really good man. I think when you're raised with a strong father who, but has a lot of goodness, it sort of gives you, makes you feel good about men.
This is a good time to be an Australian in the movie business, isn't it?
It is. There's a lot of
you
us.
and Russell and Philip Noyce and Naomi and you know, the list goes on and on.
Who are all very, very good friends of mine. Yeah. It's odd, actually. We talk about it, but we really watch each other's backs, you know. Have that thing where we'll protect and take care of each other through thick and thin.
So at tough times for you, they were all there?
All of them. I mean, Naomi moved into my house.
She moved into the house to make sure that you had a friend?
Yeah, I had 3 women move into the house. My friends, they just moved in. I mean, I was, you know, very lucky because they just, that's it. They left their homes and came and lived with me.
Yeah, Russell sent a note or something.
No, Russell arrived in a car and said, I'm taking you out to a club. You got to get out. You've got. I was like, oh. And he said, no, move on, you know. He's pretty pragmatic, Russell. And he's tough, too. Doesn't indulge you in your emotions, which is good.
Philip Noyce is, and we mentioned Philip Noyce, who's now having 2 great films that are out. One is called Rabbit Porch. What's the name of the film?
Rabbit Proof Fence.
Rabbit Proof Fence, and
the
other is
a very
A Quiet
important
America.
film for our country.
Because it's about Aborigines taking a long trek across the country.
And just, you know, the situation there with the children and everything, which is a pretty complicated situation. But he's, yeah, he's doing really well. You know, he directed me in Dead Calm. And
that was the first break.
We all stay in touch, the weirdest thing, you know.
Yeah,
not weird, should, right? You share things and you should stay in touch.
So when Russell wins the Academy Award, you're there cheering?
On the phone, yeah, going, oh my God!
And after that, Days of Thunder came. Who was it called you and said, we've seen Dead Calm, and we want you to come meet, to talk to Tom about... yeah, they called me in on Days of Thunder to, you know, on a big American movie, and I came. And you were ready?
I met. I don't know if you're ever ready. I sort of came over and I remember sitting in the Beverly Hills Hotel. I was like, oh, this is unbelievable. And I remember switching on the TV and there were like 62 channels.
And you were
I was
used to
frightened to
3?
go out, actually. And then I went to New York City. They took me to New York and I stepped off the plane and I just went, oh, this is a dream. But then, of course, I went into the hotel room and didn't come out because I was too frightened. Ridiculous.
And then you introduced to Tom.
And then I met my ex-husband, yeah.
And made that movie.
Yes, yeah. And then sort of, you know, then I wanted to have a baby. And everything else goes out the window.
And then in '93...
always have very strong maternal kind of instincts, actually. Like, ever since I was a teenager, I wanted to have a baby.
More than one?
Yeah.
You have 2?
I have 2.
Yeah. Isabella?
Isabella.
And Connor.
Can do worse than being called Bella all your life.
You call her Bella?
Bella.
Yeah.
And Connor.
And Connor. The movie To Die For.
Yes.
You had to go and make your case.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think they had, you know, it was one of those things where I'd seen Drugstore Cowboy. I thought Gus Van Sant was really, really good.
Yeah.
And Buck Henry had written this great script, and of course they, you know, weren't even remotely interested in me. And I was just at a stage in my life where I thought, well, my child was now 18 months, and I was kind of going, well, it doesn't look like it's ever really going to work out for me in terms of the work I wanted to do. But I've got a great family, and I've got my baby, and then the script came along, and they said, well, they're kind of interested, but they're not sure. And so I went and met with Gus, and I talked to him on the phone, and I just said, you don't understand, I just need to do something. I need to play this role because I need to do something good so that I can feel good about myself in terms of, I just want to, in Australia,
because you were kind of suffocating in terms of not having the kind of roles
I just think
that brought
there's, you know, if you're creatively, you need an outlet, whether it's cooking, whether it's doing something that you're good at that's creative. And for me, it was just, I wanted to act. And even if it was on a small stage somewhere, that would have been fine, but it was just having the chance to kind of let those creative juices flow out of you.
Roll tape. Here's the scene. This is to Daphne.
We're only looking for someone to answer the mail, run a couple of errands, you know, minimum pay, no benefits.
Oh, money is not my main concern, Mr. Grant. I just want a chance to contribute something. I think you'll find I have very valuable ideas about programming and
Whoa,
study the
no. You're not hearing what I'm saying. Take a look around you, if you would. I mean, Suzanne, we're talking local cable station here.
Oh, I just want a chance to get my foot in the door, Mr. Grant. Everybody has to start somewhere. Do you know where Edward R. Murrow started?
No, I don't.
No, well, neither do I offhand. But I don't think it was at the top. Do you? Hmm? I live only 5 minutes away from here. I will be willing and eager to respond to any newsworthy emergency you put in front of me.
Suzanne,
anything you want. Mr. Grant, this is a dream I have had all my life. I will do anything to get this job, anything.
This is my associate, George.
Oh, pleased to meet you, George.
Well, we'll think about it.
Mr. Grant, I believe that my assets...
Hey, I said we'll think about it, and we will. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I believe that in our fast-moving computer age, it is the medium of television that joins together the global community. And it is the television journalist who serves as messenger, bringing the world into our homes and our homes into the world. It has always been my dream to become such a messenger. I look to you, gentlemen, now to make that dream a reality.
We were talking about Stanley Kubrick while watching that. Eyes Wide Shut. Stanley Kubrick changed your life, you just said to me.
Yeah,
In what
he
way?
did. Because he's one of the most brilliant people, if not the most brilliant I've ever encountered. And I got to spend 2 years working with him, and then, you know, a year after that, sort of talking to him on the phone and seeing him mixed.
Is there something you
And
could...
he just, I mean, he was a professor of life, a professor of art. I mean, he just knew everything about, so he just knew things. And I would sit on the floor of his office and he'd let me go through all his things. He had a big office, very, very messy. But he knew everything was within it. And I would just sort of talk to him. And we'd talk about everything. I mean, rarely actually about our film and more about everything else.
He'd never thought about coming back to New York, or did he?
He didn't like to fly. He just wasn't ever going to fly. No, he didn't want to live in America. He had a beautiful place and surrounded by his family and his work and his animals, and he was able to just exist there and do what he wanted to do. I really admire him for that because, and everyone else, you know, would go, oh, he's so weird or he's so this, and I'd say, I mean, I don't know if it's because I am, but I see, he did not seem terribly strange to me. He just seemed brilliant. You know, and I've now encountered and worked with some of the most brilliant people in the world, and they're all pretty similar.
Yeah, they are. So you take all the loop group that we just talked about. They're all they have one.
Not even loopy. It's not loopy or weird. It's just who you are, you know, and to be. It's just sometimes a different way of looking at the world, a different way of existing in the world, of walking in the world. It's different because there's no right and wrong, you know?
Now, when you made Dogville, did you do that because this was a director you wanted to work with?
Yeah, yeah.
Just that simple?
That simple.
Because...
And I'll do it again with him, actually.
You would?
I am. We're doing a trilogy.
But you never saw a frame of the footage?
Nope, never saw anything.
You shot it with digital? You show up for 6 weeks?
Well, longer, actually. I was there for a couple of months, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the middle of Sweden, in this place called Trollhättan. And I'd take walks with Lars in the first week, and I thought, he's going to kill me.
Yeah.
He is going to kill me, because we'd go off into the forest. And it had been a long road getting there because I had not wanted to work. So I had passed on doing the film because I just wanted to be with my children. and I also pulled out of In the Cut. I pulled out of a lot of stuff.
But you're producing.
Yeah. But so to get to that stage of it, I said, okay, I got to get through this year. I cannot go and do a film. This is not what I want to do. And to make a film, I have to really want to do it. So I said, I'll come in January. Little did I know that's the middle of winter in Sweden. There's hardly any sunlight. But it was an amazing experience. I love that. I love to go around the world and work with people who are visionaries and go to their countries. I did it with Alejandro Amenabar and work within their world and be part of their world and give to them.
And walk away better because of it.
Better or more complicated, whatever. Walk away with something. Walk away going, I'm so glad I did that. I'm going to look back when I'm an old woman and remember Trollhättan, Sweden, and walking through this kind of white, everything was white, this white, grey-blue light and white everywhere because of the snow, with Lars in the forest talking about life, talking about philosophy, being challenged on who I am and what I am. You know, he thought I represent Hollywood, and then I said, Lars, I'm here doing this movie for no money because I believe in you. I'm here. I came to your country here because I believe in you.
Have you seen the film?
Yes, I've seen it now.
Yeah. Are you pleased with it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very unusual film.
Because he's an unusual filmmaker.
I love that, yeah. And some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it, I would think. But I've made a lot of films like that, so it says something. It's political. It's actually political, Dogville. So it'll be interesting to see the reaction to it. But I'm very, very glad I made it.
After Eyes Wide Shut, whose idea was it to do the Blue Room?
It was Sam Mendes and I met, actually through Patrick Marber, who wrote Closer. And Patrick said, I've got a friend who'd love to meet you. This is before Sam Mendes became the Sam Mendes. Before he won his Academy Award. And we sat and clicked, and I said, I'd love to do a theatre. Yeah, I'd love to do a piece of theatre with you. What do you think? And he came up with doing La Ronde, but where you play all the characters. Right. And David Hare, who I knew, then agreed to adapt it. And it was one of those things that blossomed very, very quickly. And I'm so glad it did, because I remember it. I love doing theatre, and I remember it as being one of those times when you're just walking on air. Because it had been such a risk, and I've been so terrified by it, terrified. And then to actually sort of push through that, and we got wonderful reviews, and it was just one of those things where you're doing 8 shows a week going, oh, this is why I act.
Roll tape, here's a scene from Blue Moon.
Where was I?
Timbuktu.
Oh, yeah. I'm rambling, but my life is a search.
A search?
Yeah. Yeah, for a love which stays real.
And what are Miss Clooney's views on the subject?
What is this with Bridget?
She's your girlfriend, after all.
Is she?
It says in the papers.
Perhaps somebody should have told me.
Oh, Malcolm, come here.
David Hare said that when you started, you knew nothing about acting in theatre.
I'd done Still Magnolias in Australia, I'd done Midsummer Night's Dream, but I hadn't ever, done this sort of work. So that was frightening. I think looking back now, I would go, if I knew how frightening it was going to be, I don't know if I'd take the plunge again. But there's braveness.
It sounds like a pattern in your life.
Ignorance, right. There's braveness in naivety.
You take the plunge, and then you look back and say...
And then you go, what was I thinking?
Why did I do this? Or B, you say, if I'd known this, I wouldn't have done it, but I'm so glad I did it.
Yeah.
Right?
It comes down to you really can't think about it too much. You sort of have to listen to your gut, and you just have to say, succeed or fail, it will be an experience.
And what did it change?
It changed my career, because from that point, that's how Stephen Daldry thought to cast me as Virginia Woolf, because he saw me in the play. And I played 5 different characters, all different age ranges. So, and Baz Luhrmann came and saw it, and that's how he cast me in Moulin Rouge. It's just weird how things lead to other things.
Baz Luhrmann comes to see it.
Which I didn't know, thank God.
You didn't know he was there?
No. That would have been hard. I never like knowing. I'm always like, don't even come see the play. Please don't come see the play. And Sam would have to teach me. I've
Sam
said
Mendes
this before,
would teach you
how to take my bow, because I would go on and apologise to the audience because I thought it was absolutely dreadful. You know, I'd
you would
make
what, say I'm sorry, or
with the bow. I'd be like,
oh yeah.
It's
Tentative.
terrible. It's a very hard thing to come on and say, to take a bow. I just, you know, I'd never learned how to do it. And everyone would say, you were being so strange up there, taking your bow.
Here's what he said. Baz Luhrmann recently here said about you and watching you in Moulin, in the Blue Room.
Oh, really?
What's it?
I could never get to it. Anyway, I eventually, because I hadn't seen it for years, and I eventually went and saw the Blue Room, which was fantastic. And I sent her, her character receives roses from a guy in the theatre, in the play. So I sent her the same roses backstage and said, little card says, she sings, she dances, she dies. How can you refuse? So pretty quickly we got into a little workshop and you know, discovering the voice and realizing that, you see, the thing is, in the golden period of Hollywood, it wasn't about having a big voice. I mean, I work with opera choruses and they all have big voices. It was about having a voice that could affect you emotionally, that you could tell story through. And it became clear very quickly that she had what it took to tell the story vocally, like a Marlene Dietrich. You know, like, in the same way Marilyn Monroe, that Nicole has a bigger voice than that, but can be very, very emotionally available through her voice. So that was the decision. Having said that, you know yourself, Charlie, there are a lot of people going, Nicole Kidman, sing, dance, how can this, you know? And I think that what I loved about it, we both went through a very intense journey ourselves during the period of time. She is one of the most, she's inspiring in her ability to be so good when things are so bad and difficult. And I believe that in Moulin Rouge, it's not the only part of Nicole, because she is an actor, but that kind of warm, electric personality that is captured in that film, that wackiness, that humanity, that's a big part of her that she hasn't had the opportunity to reveal.
We've only seen the tip of the iceberg.
Correct, and that, if she comes in, you'll receive that probably in buckets, as opposed to, yes, indeed, she can be extraordinarily strong, she can be very precise, she can be regal, you know.
So what do you think of that? That's Baz.
Bazzy.
Bazzy.
That's mine.
That's your Bazzy.
I love him. Yeah,
now, here's
you
the
just
question.
Click, you know, you meet people in life and you just click, and you know this is not just about a film, this is about a lifelong
a relationship, somebody who will be with you forever, and you'll be friends whether you make another movie or another play or anything together. There's a connection. Here's what I don't understand. Now, all these things, they're all the same. Do you view this as sort of, because you got a series of roles, you were able to do things that even surprised you, perhaps? Or B, you knew all this talent was there, it's just that all of a sudden people realized it themselves because they saw you in roles they admired, you know?
No, I think you always think you can't act. I mean,
you do?
It's like, because it's such an intangible thing, you know, you're relying on your emotion, or how I work, it's all about feeling, so you just go, you never quite know if it's all going to come together. So therefore, the directors that you work with are the ones that they sort of draw you out, they coax you out, they see things that then they that you let them access, I suppose. And I mean, that's what happened with Baz and I. You know, he says wacky. Well, he's the one that brings that out in me. You know. But
there is this sense that I'm not sure I can do this.
Oh, all the time.
Even today.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm about to start a film next year, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I have to go away, I have to be alone, I have to sort of sit with this, and you're so worried you're going to let the director down. You know, you feel so grateful that you've been cast. I mean, partly for me at this moment, I know that this whole time is fleeting, you know, so you don't want to get too attached to it even, because it's beautiful and but it's fleeting.
So you want to enjoy it and feel it and make sure you do whatever you can to give it flight.
And be generous about it too. Just say, well, what will be, rather than trying to say, well, it has to be this or it has to be that. It's more just saying, okay, and then being willing to walk away from it too, you know, so that you have a full enough life that there's many, many other things in your life that you can do,
and
that you're
family
passionate
and
about.
children
And also
friends
just,
and
I mean, I would love
interests.
to go and write something eventually. I want to be a great cook. I love to cook.
No, you're pretty good now.
I'm okay. I'm not really good, but I love to do it. I mean, Sidney Pollack said a wonderful thing. He is a wonderful cook. And he said, you know, just that being creative with that meal once a day that can satiate you creatively. It's so true. So in terms of that, my life, I know my life is not this. This is a period in my life, and there's so many, you know, there's the next decade, and hopefully, you know, you never know, touch wood.
Yeah.
But the next decade will be something different, probably.
And that makes someone like Meryl Streep even more extraordinary, because it is gone, and, you know, it's gone from decade to decade to decade.
Yeah, and she also shows you how to do it, because she's managed to raise 4 children. She's managed to keep her integrity, her sense of humor, her wit.
Yeah, especially her wit.
Her wit.
Yeah.
She has great wit. And to be a full person. I mean, when you meet Meryl, you say, this woman is rich.
She has it.
Right? And so she's not vacuous. There's so many things behind those eyes. And that is glorious to see, and it gives you great hope.
You've touched on this a couple of times. When the news came that your marriage was over, you felt...
I start to twitch.
But you felt fear, darkness, a sense of no sense of the future. You were scared about the future.
Yeah, I mean, I had been
in a wonderful 10-year relationship.
11. Since I was 22.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know anything else. And he was really my first major relationship, and that was all I knew, and I was sure that that was going to be all I knew. So, you know, it was one of those things where, yeah, and I think every person that goes through divorce realizes, I mean, it's terrifying, because your life partner suddenly isn't going to be your life partner, and you've got to somehow learn to be alone, and that was not what I was good at. So.
And that's when friends came and made sure you weren't alone in the beginning.
Yeah, but partly now I look back at it and you have to go, well, ooh, life gives you these strange things. I mean, there were so many other things too, because I had the, you know, the health problem and
the health problem.
I lost my baby.
The miscarriage
so
took
many
a couple
things.
of weeks.
So it wasn't, and I feel so embarrassed talking about it, but part of me says to talk about it, because you just say, well, it is part of my life, and it's there, and everyone's sort of read about it, and I will never ever deal with details on it because of my children. But you do say, well, I got through it, and you know, and life goes on.
Because of friends and because of work and because of
yeah, primarily because of family and friends. And then
that's when your mother came to you and said,
did not indulge me in any of my grief. Pick yourself up and get your act together. You got 2 children. Get down in that kitchen now and put, you know, and let them see that their mother is okay. So.
And you let them see that.
Yeah.
And at some point in a relationship, you also come to the notion that I am a divorced person and that I, you know, that life goes on.
Yeah.
It took a while to get there.
I think you live with it for the rest of your life. It's a long, I mean, for me it was a great, great love. So it's something that and I don't give up my attachments easily. You know, in terms of emotionally, I don't do it with a film, I don't do it with a life experience or with a partner or with anything, you know, there's an intensity to my personality, I suppose.
You have to
so I
find
don't walk
what it
away
is.
From things lightly, which is why I don't enter into something lightly either.
You have to find out what replaces love. I mean, there's some other kind of connection, replacement, trust, being there, all that. If you share children, you find some other...
You have to grow up.
You grow up.
You have to be an adult. When there's children involved, yeah, you're there as their protectors and as their guiders. So you have to be worthy of their respect. And that means, as my mother says, you are a role model to your children. You get your act together. And it's true, you know, even though at the time it seems so harsh, you're like, can't you just love me unconditionally? And really, it's like, no, come on. And I'm grateful that I've got that sort of attitude from my parents. I mean, thank God, you know. I mean, there's a great love there from them too. And
the idea of success coming so, as you say now, it's fleeting. You don't know how long it's going to last. You want to love it. You want to make sure you're as creative as you can possibly be, because you don't know how many great
give back as well. I think so much of it is being, you know, it's interesting because what can happen once you become far more well-known is that you pull away from the world. You start to go, oh, I'm not going to leave the house. I'm actually going to do it, and I'm going to surround myself so that I don't have to deal with the world. Yeah, and really, if you push through it, you can actually end up meeting the most interesting people and having really interesting conversations, because people come up to you on the street you normally would never meet, and as long as you're open to them, I think so much of it is about staying accessible, you know, emotionally accessible, rather than shutting down.
Aren't you almost saying that, I mean, somehow you spent 10 years of life, and because there was so much intense publicity and all of that, you were kind of living in a bubble, and you
I think in a relationship, though, I mean, I think anybody can say that. It's very difficult in an intense relationship to let anybody else in.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to maintain your friendships. It's hard to maintain the other things that exist in your life when you're in a very intense relationship. Partly you don't want it because you're just so interested in each other. You know, and it's incredibly romantic. So, you know, now I'm going, there's all these people out there in the world that I can meet, and their life, you know, our lives can cross, and that's sort of quite exciting.
When you tell me about the future, I mean, you've got, you may do Stepford Wives or not. Is that going to happen?
Yeah, we're working on the script. I like to do a comedy.
Is this Paul
Rudnick,
who is one of the funniest people around?
Yeah. He's written a very funny script.
And you're working on the script as well?
Well, he's doing it. I'm sort of, you know, involved, but he's doing all the work. And, yeah, I would like to make fun of myself a bit, so. It's an inherent part of being an Australian. You've got to take the piss out of yourself. That's what they
take
say.
The piss out of yourself?
Yeah, that's the phrase.
Well, as you do this, taking the piss out of yourself.
Yeah.
How are you going to do that?
I don't know. I think Paul will manage to be able to do it. Frank Oz is the director, and Paul will be able to.
Frank Oz, who did?
In and Out.
In and Out.
And, yeah, he's done some, what about Bob? He's done some great movies.
Do you have a list of things, of directors and people you want to work with, who you're...
I'm going to work with Jonathan Glazer next, who's, he directed a film called Sexy Beast.
Yeah. Oh, sure, I know Sexy Beast, with
Ben Kingsley and Ray Winston.
What's the story?
I'm very excited about it. It's a complicated story. I won't go into it now.
Do you want to come back?
Birth.
Would you come back to Broadway to do something?
I'd love to. I'd love to come to Off-Broadway, too.
Yeah.
You know, I like to not have too much pressure.
Really?
Yeah, well, theatre is an experiment, you know. I want to support theatre. It's so important to and I've got to get back in and do it, because otherwise the fear governs you again. So you just got to, you know, be pushed into it. It is daunting, and it's hard with children, just the 8 shows a week, and you think, oh, the hours will be good, but it's actually quite difficult, because you just end up getting very little sleep.
That's why
it's hard to go to sleep and then get up in the morning and get them to school.
That's why Meryl doesn't do more, she's told me.
Yeah.
You know, same reason, because of, you know, back and forth.
But, gosh, there's so many great plays to do, you know. So.
You must
And I think it's important. It's important to say, yeah, I believe in this art form, and I want to keep contributing to it.
Yeah. You are glad that you said yes to all those times when you didn't really want to do anything coming out of the divorce, when you know, the devastation.
Well, there was only the one time, the hours. Oh, and Laz's movie, yeah.
Laz's movie, and you'd already finished Human Stain by then, or
no,
I
did
later?
that. Yeah, did that this year.
Yeah. And Philip Roth was there.
Philip visited the set once, yeah, and I met Philip. Have you interviewed Philip?
No, I've tried very hard.
Oh, right.
he doesn't do a whole lot of television.
No.
Yeah. So when you look at, do you feel a sense now that, I mean, you clearly must have at least a realization, beyond that this is a great time, and you know that the performances you're giving are what David Denby said. I caught it.
Caught it, Charlie, before it spilled everywhere.
All over you, and I'd be embarrassed. You must know, Anthony Hopkins, who worked with you in Human Stain, he said the following: she doesn't know how good she is. Now, you
Did
don't
he
want
say
to.
that?
He did say that. Now, you don't want to deal with that. So it's almost like you're just doing it. You
I
take
thought
it
to
seriously.
myself, he would look at me and he'd be like, "What are you doing?" That was so. I loved working with him. I loved working with him. He's so good in the movie too, in Human Stain. It's so easy for him.
Yeah. See, here's what I think would be the greatest thing, to be where you are now.
Give me advice. I need it. What? Tell me, Charlie.
It is that you get people believe that you will add something special to their creative project, so they want you, you know, and that's happening. You know, you see things now. You have more choices, more options, more power in some way, you know. But if your goal, as you say, is to grow and expand, you know, the success you're having gives you an opportunity to, you know, to serve that appetite more.
Yeah, and I suppose it's about choosing the things that, or the people that, you know, that maybe they wouldn't be able to get a film made unless you got behind them and stuff. So that it's sort of seeking out those films or those people and saying, hey, it's also though, you know, choosing your friends and keeping them close and supporting them too, you know, helping. I completely believe in helping a friend get a job. If they've got the talent, you know, you go help them. Why not? It's a tough world, you know.
Yeah. Would you change anything about the way it is today?
The world or my life?
My
life? Oh, I would, yeah, I mean, I've said it before. I would have my, it's too personal. I would hope.
You would have what? Come
on. Well, I would have, you know, what I had before over this. I would.
But you will. Surely you know that you will. It's just
you don't know anything, really, do you?
No, you don't. But I mean,
maybe.
I mean, do you feel that there was just one man for you?
I don't know.
I
get shy now.
I know you do, but help me. I mean, you don't. You're too much a part a and you.
I like to participate.
You do.
I don't want to be a voyeur. I'd much rather be a participator.
And to live it.
Live it. Wear it, my heart on my sleeve, my battle scars, but live it.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here. It's a remarkable performance by you.
Thank you.
And you know that.
I feel honoured to have played her, and I'm very honoured to have put what I perceive to be her essence on screen. So.
Thank you again. Nicole Kidman has been here for the hour, and we are very pleased that she came to share this time with us. Thank you again. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.